Hi, in this video, I will show you an Android Studio plugin that helps you check Firebase real-time database security configurations. Here we have Firebase real-time database, an empty one. Here we have different security rules for different endpoints. For the root path, we have read and write denied. For the config path, we have read denied but write permitted. And for the new config path under the config path, both read and write are allowed. Here we have a small Android application that uses this Firebase database. This application uses this real-time database in two ways. The first one being by using the Google services.json file for configuration. Basically, when the application is compiled, the information that we have in this JSON file will be stored in strings.xml. Static analysis tools that we see so far extract this information from the strings.xml file. That means either the project ID or the Firebase URL, and then they add the /.json endpoint here, and then they try to access. So, for example, in this case, if we try to access this real-time database endpoint, we have permission denied because the configuration says so. Okay. However, as you can see, the developer of the application, for example, in this case, configured two different paths with different security rules. So, for example, here for the new path, the new config path, we can do read and write, but this will not be reflected in the strings.xml file. Okay. So the other option here for the developer to use is, instead of the configuration file, is directly in a code. Basically, the developer can get the reference to the Firebase database from the URL passed here, and then accessing the content. So in this case, this content will not be in the strings.xml file. So if we do static analysis in the strings.xml file, we see that this application is not actually using Firebase real-time database. Okay. So if I run this application, and here see if, okay, so the content has been written while I was navigating away. So let me remove this content and run it again. Since it's real time, okay, we see that in both ways we were able to insert the data. Okay, so why were we able to insert this data? Because we are under the config path, and under the config path, the security rule says we can do whatever we want. Okay, so if we try this endpoint, we see that the content is there. Okay, so what our plugin, which can be found here, Check Firebase Access, will be doing is extracting the information from the this configuration, as well as in the usage of the code in the application. For example, in this case, we have the new config slash. So we have these different paths. Here we have several paths to check. So what our Android Studio plugin does is check every possible path and see if they are readable or writable. I will run this plugin. So here we have the notification, and here we see how many paths are currently being checked. Okay, so we have the result. So at the moment we see the result as this message. So for example, here we see that for this path, config, new config, test demo al2, this is world readable and writable. There are some cases, for example, the config path looking for config. So new config, we don't have new config, so the security configuration does not allow us to do this. So basically here we have config, new configs, sec test demo is readable and writable. Here we have config sec test demo is world readable, world writable, but not readable. So because it's under this section, so we can write whatever we want here, but not read. Sec test demo under root path, we are not able to write anything here. Yes, so basically like this, we have all the security problems displayed like this. So developer can go directly to the paths that show red warnings and configure them properly.